Thank you, Shilpa, for the kind words. And at the outset, I like to congratulate each one of you, especially Debraj, for this very popular IC, which is running for the fourth year. Very much honored and privileged to be in this course. So I'll be speaking about the dermal fillers of the face. We all know that the facial aging is a multifactorial, complex, three-dimensional, dynamic, and generally non-uniform process. It occurs due to a combined effect of gravity, due to progressive bone resorption, due to decreased elasticity, and also the redistribution of the subcutaneous tissue. So, what we basically see that in facial aging, it is often associated with loss of some parts of the tissue, and on the other hand, there's hypertrophy of some parts of the tissue, and thus we need a balance. We need a balance between this hypo and the hypertrophy of the face, and the best is done by injection filler, which balances between the deflation and the deterioration that Shilpa and PT has been speaking earlier. So this filler can be irreversible, reversible, it can be synthetic, it can be natural, but what I feel basically I'm more comfortable with the natural source, and most important being the hyaluronic acid. So whenever we try for any aesthetic procedure in the face, be it a surgery or any procedure injectables, we need to assess the face in the hierarchical better. The first one is when we do a full face analysis, which PT has already mentioned about the emotional attributes. The second, we need to analyze the face on the basis of the three thirds. And the third is more important when you target the specific area, the most dynamic part, that is the periorbital and the periocular part. So when we talk about the periorbital part, what is the most major concern, and it is being discussed in most of the forum, is the tear trough defect. What is this tear trough deformity? It can be a correct deformity when there is a separation between the palpebral and the orbital part of the orbicularis muscle, and this is known as a correct tear trough. But you should know to differentiate between the indirect or the incorrect tear trough, which is basically a separation or a groove between the orbital part of the orbicularis and also the levator superiorlis eliginosa. So only if you know, if you can differentiate the two, then the line of treatment is different. Because in case of tear trough, yes, the treatment is filler, but in case of this fold, the nasozugal fold that we usually say, the treatment is surgery, where you need to do a lower lid lift along with the smash and the soof lift. So to differentiate these two, defects, it is very important. So why does it occur? Because when we are young, we are very proud that we have a positive looking face, which we know as a positive vector. This is because when you see the malar plane, which lies much anterior to the corneal plane, and this is known as a positive vector. And when we grow old, because of deflation, deterioration, gravity, everything what leads to sagging, and this malar plane, which lies much behind the corneal plane, and this is known as a negative vector. This positive, the changing from the positive due to the negative vector, can have both visible changes and the hidden change. And the hidden changes basically seen in the ligaments, bone, and the smash, and the visible is in the skin. But the most important is the hidden changes. As you can see here, the ligaments, which is so important, especially when you deal with the tear trough. This is the orbitomalar ligament that you can see. The sagging of the ligament, the sagging of the tissue, the deterioration, deflation, all leads to all the changes that we have seen here. So when we talk about the management of tear trough, there's a very classical teaching by AMI where you see the 3 points to be targeted is TT1, TT2, TT3, but along with it, you have to do a mid-face lift. You need to touch the CK1, CK2, and the CK3. So what is the CK1 point? The CK1 point is a point on the zygomatic arch. This is a very important point because if you touch this point, which is also known as a G point by the plastic surgeon, it really gives a good lifting effect. It gives a slimming of the face, and the most important, it leads to improvement of the tear trough along with the improvement of the nasolabial fold, and it makes the eyes look bigger, and also it lifts the eyebrow. So if you look to this lady out here, and if you draw a line from the elbow of the nose to the tragus, another line from the lateral canthus to the lateral part of the mouth, and then you divide these two lines, and at 45-degree on the bifurcation, you have the G point sitting, which is similar to the CK2 point. And this is the point, these are all the CK1, 2, 3 point are the points of lifting and the slimming of the midface. So when you have a prominent tear trough like this, the treatment is, yes, it is dermal filler. So you need to differentiate when you need to inject the dermal filler or when you need to inject, you need to go ahead with the surgery. So prominent tear trough without much hills, without much fat prolapse, the treatment is the tear trough where you need to inject in the classical 3 points that I have already mentioned here. And the best way, what are the 3 points where to place? If you draw a line just in the inferior orbital rim and 1 centimeter below you draw the second line, and the space between these two lines is the point where you need to inject the TT1, TT2, TT3, and which really corrects the tear trough. As you can see here, all the valleys are being treated. But if you have a young lady like this, which she has got both the hills and valley, she has little bit of fat prolapse and a very prominent tear trough, but you need to assess whether you like to do surgery or you like to do an injection filler. So if the fat level, or if all the orbital fat lies below or behind the anterior lacrimal crest plane, then this is an indication for dermal fillers. But if you have a much elderly lady where you have too much of fat bulging, with this bulging of the fat which lies much interior to the anterior lacrimal crest plane, then this is an indication for a lower lip blepharoplasty. So this is how we differentiate whether we'll go for an injection or we'll go for a surgery. Young lady like this, and I'm sorry for not a very good quality, just after applying the Prilox, you see the fat bulge here and she has a prominent tear trough. You go for the injection filler and you can reverse this negative vector to a positive vector that you can see here. So these are some of the examples. Like this is just on the table. You can see I use a cannula. You can see this how these hills and valleys get much treated following this injection filler in many of the situation. But if you have a situation like this, a deep valley, then this is the indication you need to go for filler. Filler, there are two ways. One is the injection and one is a cannula. I usually prefer cannula in the three most dynamic part of the face, that is the periocular, the perioral, and also the masseter region, because these are the most dynamic part of the face. And I really want the tissue integration of the filler to happen. And especially since the tear trough is such a thin area, I feel that if you go by the cannula, it gives a much better look. So even in this patient, you can see with such a deep valley, you can really treat it by managing with the injection filler. And when she animates, you can see the tear trough and also the changes in the quality of the skin is much better. So we have discussed about the hierarchy 1, hierarchy 2, hierarchy 3, especially highlighting the periorbital region. But within the hierarchy 3, we also have the perioral region, where Shilpa has mentioned the anatomy so well. So this can be managed by an injection technique or with a cannula technique. If you want to augment the pillars, this is best done by injection technique. But if you want to enlarge or give volume and also make the lip look much younger, the best is by doing a cannula. So what I believe, like these patients like this, sometimes they are so fair, like you don't want to have a bruise. Advantage of this cannula is that you don't have a bruise. The patient are much happier. Tissue integration on the table, you can see a very good tissue integration, and you can give a very symmetrical and even look just immediately following the procedure. So this is the main advantage. I feel that especially for lips, now I'm switching all my lips to the to this cannula. I feel that this is a very wonderful technique of doing a lip augmentation. As you can see here, this is one lady just before. This is just after the procedure, and this is with her makeup, with her lipstick, she looks much prettier. So I feel that this filler really gives a very beautiful augmentation to the lips, as you can see here, and these are all being done by cannula. So once we have talked about a hierarchy 1, 2, and 3, now the hierarchy 4 is what the patient needs and what the patient wants. And most of the patient, what they want is basically they want the slimming of the face, and that is best done by the mid-face filler. That were the points which I already mentioned. CK1 being the zygomatic arch, CK2 being the zygomatic eminence, CK3 being the actual chin point, 4 is the parotid, and this is the buccal point which we usually give for the HIV patient. So in order to make the face look slim, you need to touch the mid face, you need to touch the lower face. Like this lady who has come to me, this is when she just came, and this is up after the second visit, that is with a minimum touch up. Then when I have realized that she requests more slimming on the face, you touch the CK4 point and you can see the much slimming. And once you want to do a chin and the jawline slimming, the best way is to go for a full face filler. So this is a full face filler where you can see the CK1, CK2, CK3 point all being done by the cannula. And this can also be done by needle, which I have already explained, which depends in which way you're more, you feel it much easier. Then this is CK1, CK2, CK3 point. The CK2, this is a zygomatic eminence, and the CK3 right into the cheek region. This is what Shilpa has already mentioned. You should be very careful, little away from the intraorbital foramen you need to have. And this is a CK4 point, which is basically a parotid region, where you can see I'm using a cannula, and you can go for a very good tissue integration. You can go as high as approximately 0.5 to 1 ml, the full syringe you can use here, depending upon how much slimming of the face you want to do. So these are the main for classical mid-face point. And then in the lower point, we have this, the gonio angle, which we inject, and then into the chin eminence. So these are the points where you touch with a needle. But if you want to touch the labiomental region, it should be always with a cannula. Why I'm telling, as Shilpa mentioned about the myomodulation, you should be very careful in this region, because if you have a reverse myomodulation, this will reverse the direction of the chin, and it will be moving upwards. Like this mentalis is the only muscle which inserts in the reverse direction. Instead of inserting into the chin, it inserts towards the lip. So we all know as we grow old, the contracture is towards the point of insertion. And this is how we treat the jowls. And once both the jowls are being treated, so this is the region where, to prevent the reverse myomodulation, we usually go for the I'll just finish it within, I think, 1 minute. And then, as you can see here, like this is how we do the lips. This is advantage is that a good tissue penetration. And this are some of the examples that I will be showing you how you can. I don't know what happened now. You can actually slim the face. Like this is just after the procedure. Like you really look to her, she wanted a chin like this, she wanted a lower face, and this is actually you can do with injection filler. So I'll just touch the three important points, some of the complications of filler, because this is very important. We should always remember that filler is a device. It has not been it is not a medication. When we talk about medication, we know there's a different dose to it, like an antibiotic, 500 milligram TDS. But filler, we don't have any dose. So these complications, like volume too much, too little, or too superficial, too deep, these complications can happen to anyone, and this can present in the form of Tyndall effect, in the form of the lumps, the bumps. But which we the most important complication is the intravascular complication, which can happen in the form of a local necrosis. But what we fear is the blindness. But in our face, like as I think Debraj has already mentioned, like yes, this filler can be given by anyone. But why we see not a so high rate of complication? Because in the face we have the 5 functional angiosomes, and these angiosomes, if you look, which have both the choke anastomosis and the true anastomosis. This choke anastomosis, which are in the 5 places of the face, what happens when the filler, even if it touches the blood vessels, it undergoes spasm. So it prevents the spread of the filler, and so it leads to a localized necrosis. But if it enters to any of this major or the true anastomosis, it can spread to the other parts of the face, and also it can lead to blindness through a retrograde flow. So this is very important point that I need to mention you. So you need to have a filler cash kit. You need to have everything with you when you start with any of the procedure, and you should know the concept of Heil flooding. Why we say the concept of Heil flooding in a case of vascular complication? Because when the filler goes and touches the blood vessel, it releases some anti-Heil substances because of so much release of anti-inflammatory mediators. So you need the Heil to overcome this anti-Heil substance, and also to overcome the filler. And this is what I mean to show. This is the anti-Heil substance that is being injected by the filler, causing injury to the blood vessel. So you need to counter it both. And it is not that the hyaluronidase or the Hyal does not have complication. Like this is the last case I'm showing you. This lady, which I have done under eye filler, she was not happy with this part. Like it is not that she is having a lump, but she was something, she told that I could feel that something is there. So I went very smartly and I injected the hyaluronic acid, and this is the reaction that happened after 48 hours. And this has she presented after 6 weeks of injecting filler. So this can, some of the complications can happen. So we should have a cash kit with us always when we do for any of the filler procedure. And this is ultimately after giving hydrocortisone to her. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.